So Peter, what is Golf Strong and what was the idea behind starting it a few years ago?
I suppose Galstrong, as it is right now, it's a standalone company that specialises in health and fitness for golfers and non-golfers, and I'll go into that in a second. But we have a studio here in Douglas Golf Club. We have our second studio in Hermitage in Dublin, um, and we're starting to grow a team out. Myself, Billy O'Regan there behind the camera, Keith Egan in Dublin, and Dan Collin is with us as well. And we've got Tricia Murphy who does Pilates work for us, our online class schedule. So it's a wide enough net. We're trying to be available to a lot of people, which is a tough thing to do. And when I say that, I mean things like, for us it's tricky to where do we market, how do we do our marketing. If we're on Instagram hitting, bombs, that's going to appeal to a certain demographic and probably a younger demographic. We have our Golf Strong Academy classes that we run in Cork and Dublin, which is aimed around getting kids involved in strength and conditioning. That's specific to golf, but it's also specific to everything else they'll do outside of the golf club. So we have a lovely class here on a Tuesday evening. It's a girls specific class. They're all around 12, 13, and it's just starting to grow as a little community themselves, So, and then what we feel that sits above all that is the Golf Strong app, which is available to everyone, which is a hybrid version of the whole business wrapped up in a mobile app. So there's an awful lot of work going into that, writing programs, marketing, making sure the next program complements the previous program, and we're trying to be as accessible and available and as interesting we can to golfers in Ireland and hopefully beyond Ireland.
Yeah, and it's obviously winter time now at the moment. If somebody was to look to start winter training or speed training or get involved with Golf Strong, would this time of year be the best time to start?
Yeah, again, there's probably a perception in people's heads that I'll do it in January. I had an assessment there today with a woman. She was in her mid-60s. She has just had a hip replacement and she's back moving. And even January was mentioned, and I brought her through an assessment and a couple of exercises, and I said, no, today is when we start. Now, is that the salesperson in me? Not really. It's not. It was my advice she needs to start working on her stability around. And I said it to her. I said, this is not even for your golf. This is actually for you outside of here. And she's talking about going skiing, and she's talking about her general balance isn't great, and so there's always a good time to start. I think I'm a big believer in people doing steady resistance training, steady exercise regimes where your heart rate is getting up quite regularly in the week. So we can certainly help with that and add some golf specific movement in around it as well.
In terms of the training, there's no one size fits all, is there? Would you have to structure programs differently depending on the person, depending on their ailments and their problems and maybe what they're good or bad at?
Yeah, absolutely. And the way I structure every session, if someone's coming in, I had a guy yesterday come up from Ballybunion. We sat for probably 20 minutes before we even did anything. And it was just how can I help? What's the goal? And everyone has their own perception or view of where they're at and what they need to do. I love to get into the weeds on what they're doing with their with their technique, so I can understand what the goals are there. And then sometimes you're kind of saying, well, look, yes, you can absolutely work on that. But, for instance, the guy yesterday now was working on his hip clearance, right? And the way he is physically at the moment, he finds it very hard to rotate onto his lead leg, which is his left leg, without falling back onto his right leg. And that totally skews things like his swing direction and how he can put the club on the face. So the face of the club on the ball. So what I was trying to do with him yesterday was, and he loves fields, so it was great. So we assessed, we made definitive marks on where he was with his movement, and then some fields that can accompany, I'm a step ahead of myself here when I'm trying to tell you this, to accompany his practice with his pro, So absolutely everyone is different, and I when someone comes into me, I try and get them just, here's a club, make a couple of swings there, talk me through your checklist. We then do the assessment, get a real handle on where they are physically, and then you're trying to come up with some sort of program from there then,
What would the low-hanging fruit for somebody who has no real background in fitness or even golf fitness specifically, what would be something that you could say you can definitely do this at home or in your local gym without very little experience?
It's movement in general. I think people underestimate the value in flexibility, mobility training, and that in a good structure will get you will get your heart rate up. It'll get you a sweat if you do it for a longer period of time, and the dividends from that, when done consistently, you know, I would really put that up there as the foundation before you can bring someone else. I'm working with a guy there, he's based in Spain. We just did a session there. He's mad to progress into a strength session or a strength program. I'm a little bit slow at the moment because I think we need to do some more mobility. I think we'll start with light stuff, and then he wants to lift some heavy stuff, like, and it's grand and it's the time of year and that's where his head is at. But you know, I think first of all, when he gets moving a little bit better, gets to understand his own body, his limitations and where we're going with it, then you can add stuff in there. But it's understanding who you have, having them understand their own body. Like that lady today now had no clue where she was at physically. She had a real clear picture before she left, which was great for me then, because she understands, I understand, and we move forward then, you know.
And you offer a range of services as well, not just here, but in the Hermitage, as you mentioned as well. It's a business that's growing year on year, and you offer a range of services from personal lessons to online classes, you know, group sessions, and it ranges from like youths to even adults up to 85 years of age as well.
Yeah, we're trying to, like, the golf community is so broad, and like in any business, it's very hard to be all things to all people. But you know, we have a class here in Douglas on a Wednesday night. That's a little mini community within a community. There's 16 lads. We go pretty hard at it. That's their peak session for the week. You know, even the trip to Portugal, 35 people there. That trip has grown from trip to trip, and that's like a nice community of people as well that want to go to Portugal, play competitive golf, train hard in the morning if they want, do a lot of mobility. But I suppose it's a golf trip with a lot of movement and a lot of training if you want it. And then in Dublin, Keith does a great job with the guys there in Hermitage, so he's a nice group. Morning classes that, you know, the pro and some of the other members join in, so they do that Monday, Wednesday morning, and then on a Monday night we've the Senior Cup panel, and there's a lot of buy-in in various ways from different groups, so that's lovely to see that. And then like during the week then you have your regular clients, and the other side of it as well is we've people then engaging in the app and just the nature of apps. I suppose the downside is you don't get to interface with the people. You just see them subscribing. You know, you don't know where they're from largely, but you can see how active they are on the app. So there's another community of people there then, which is nice to see, you know.
Yeah, and on the app, as you mentioned, what sort of services do you offer on that?
So I suppose we've gone, and I'm going to say this because, you know, there's again a narrative of people, let's say, pro golfers or teaching pros, potentially crossing over, and people like me crossing over into, like, I don't really see it like that anymore. I think it should all complement each other, and it does, I think, an awful lot more. Like, I have a lot of pros that will ring me to say, well, Peter O'Keefe's on his way to you today, this is what I see him moving. And I would ring a lot of the guys saying, look, I had Billy with me today, just keep an eye on this. Like that lady today now actually is getting lessons from a guy who I know in Cork. I've already texted him to say, had so-and-so in with me today, she literally can't rotate into her backswing. She can't, like, she's so tight in her thoracic moving to the right. So he knows that at the next lesson. I mean, that's the way it should be. That's not me crossing over and vice versa. That's us helping each other out. So I suppose with the app, we have a golf side of it and we have a fitness, strength and conditioning side of it. And I think I'm only just putting information that I know is helpful to me over the years in an app that people can just digest and enjoy. It's there if you want to use it and try it out. Simple things like I get loads of messages from people, you know, what's the best way to structure practice? Like that has nothing to do with fitness, we all know that, but I'm not going to say to someone if I get a message on Instagram, sorry, I can't answer you there. You know what I mean? I'm going to just give them my opinion based on my own experience, and we've put that into little nuggets of videos on the app, like how to structure your practice, little speed drills, you know, alignment with your putting, pace drills, things like that. Like if there's people out there want to use those videos to help their clients, absolutely go for it. But look, I'm a big believer of putting stuff out that you feel might help people. And again, there's a way that someone might come into the app, see that, and then move into the fitness side of it and engage with us then for programs. And that's the commercial focus for us. We're not commercially focused on getting bookings for lessons because it's just not what we do. We want to use the golf side information because golf is our market. If they enjoy that, as I said, brilliant. And then if they go along to use programs. And I have a lot of people who said to me, oh, I'm doing your strength 3-day program, but I also love your structured program or your structured video on practice, you know. So that's the way I like to see people using the app because they're just getting more value then, you know.
Yeah, and there's more to it now as well, other than the golf. You mentioned that you've kids coming in, elderly coming in. This could be their only form of intense exercise every week and a form of social interaction. So there is a mental health and a well-being side to all of this as well.
Yeah, massive. And you know, I suppose in the business of wellness, you get to work very close up with some people, obviously on one-to-one basis, and you hear more often. I had a couple of conversations in Portugal with people that this trip was so important to them. It was their thing they were looking forward to for so long, and they were making the absolute best out of it for reasons around mental health and just their well-being and being in a community of people that were, you know, similarly focused, you know. So totally, absolutely, I'm super aware of that, and that's consistent across all age groups, big or small, you know, whatever. I think it's a big part of it. So like last night's a great example. 16 lads, probably all members of Douglas. Their probably average age is, let's say, 50, and they're in there enjoying it. It's a lot of people. They build up. That's probably their only heart-raising exercise time spent in the whole week. And I'm trying to get them around now. Some of them are wearing their wearables, so just for them, because I'd have my phone in front of me and I have my Whoop open, so I'm looking at my stats as I'm doing the class. And I'm getting them trying to get more into their, you know, their metrics basically, and to get used to that. So that might kind of get them in a mindset that I might do this again myself, either on the app or in person if we're doing other classes, you know.
Yeah, and there's a benefit as well. You know, they'll stick at golf during the winter as well, and throughout the year they won't just, you know, dip away and take up something else as well, which is obviously good for the club as well. Douglas has a good junior record as well.
Yeah, no, it has, and look, I'm on a juvenile committee here in the club, and I love being a part of that because I make myself, it's just the way I like it, I make myself very available to the lads, and you know, the questions that I can potentially help, I'll have experience of it at some point. Jack Murphy's just gone to college, like Sean Reddy's going, Barry O'Connell, like James Walsh, they're all going to be looking at that now coming up, and it's just lovely to see them, and behind them you've Justin Dennehy and you've other good players. So there's a good culture in this club of, I suppose, seeing it and wanting to be it kind of thing. Same for me when I was coming through, like you'd Carl Borneman and you John McHenry, and you're looking at the Irish bag around the place and you just want that. So, and like the ladies club have proven that here way better than we have as the men's club. They've just won the Senior Cup, and like Sarah Byrne has driven that, you know, largely with what she's been doing. All the girls have kind of gone along with her, and they're looking up to the Kate McCanns, the Yvonne Higginses, the female legends of the club, and that's just the way it goes. And there's a good crop of girls now coming behind in this club as well. So we're very proactive to try and keep working on good programs. And I suppose what we have achieved in this club is our side of it, the S&C side and the pros side, working together to deliver programs into for the kids in the winter. So, and all of that needs to happen for the rest of it to come together, you know.
Yeah, so communication is obviously a massive part in terms of combining what the pro wants and what you want, and then in terms of having that overall structure for whoever the client may be as well.
Yeah, like we're just about to launch our winter program now, and it'll be a mix of, let's say, deliverables from our side and the lads' side. We'll bounce off each other. All the groups will get interaction with us throughout the program, and we'll have progress reports on, okay, this group is doing this, communicated across. The lads will do, you know, speed work and all that kind of stuff, and we'll bounce off each other, and that's the way it's worked here for a while, you know. So long may that continue.
Yeah, and speed is obviously massively important. It's becoming immensely popular in golf at all levels, to be fair. And say if somebody was to walk into you and say to you, I want to do this for 9 months, we're going to start now, you know, middle of November, would you structure different training levels depending on the season, like when you're off season, during in season? What would be the difference?
This is a good one. Like, it's like remember when Brooks Koepka was doing heavy benches the morning before he played the final round. I think it was the US Open he won. Like, a lot of people said, like, oh, he should just be doing that in the off season. Like, we don't necessarily agree with that. As in, we think, or I think, I think we think that, like, if you're training regularly, it's not necessarily, it shouldn't be periodized, oh, I'm going to stop now because, you know, the clocks have changed in that kind of way. Personally, I think consistent work on speed throughout is not a bad thing. You know, I think it should be done at most range sessions, whatever level you're at. Now again, if someone is a higher handicap with destructive patterns, if you get into a speed program, you're potentially going to make that pattern faster, not better. So I do kind of say that to people. And, you know, I have seen people go on speed programs without being technically aware, kind of fall into the unknown, and they get a little bit confused then when they go back to try and hit shots. Let's say you go to a better player, my own experience, you know, if you've got a repeatable, good, technically sound pattern, I think why not keep your speed up? But again, have some structure around your practice. When are you practicing for speed? How are you doing it, and how regularly you are doing it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the app is obviously a fantastic outlet for people who can't access you in person every week, or they might be coming long distance and can't get down. How does somebody go about actually downloading the app and accessing the services?
It's as available as any app. You know, just go to the App Store, Google Play Store, or the website golfstrong.ie. That's my sales pitch there. But it's very easy to get to. It's very easy to download. It's actually the second version. Like we designed the first app. It didn't work out with the developers in the sense that nothing to do with them. It was just what we needed to happen in the app wasn't necessarily happening, but we were so far down the line we had to get it out there. It was fine. It was just more of a content hub. And then we had to, when that was happening, redesign another one, which took the bones of 10 months. So you come across another developer who can just do an awful lot more, you know, things like timers, wedging all the content together and then breaking it into programs. So then the user actually just sees a very nice flowing type of experience. So all that type of stuff is there. And I think for people who need a bit of, we were always trying to give people structure and guidance as well. So it literally is a plug and play where you get an assessment, or you get on the app, you say, right, I'm going to do, let's say, Power 1.0. You can set it up, you just press play, and all the sets and reps are there for you. You know, it's just there, it's all taken care of. It's very easy to follow, it's all video based, all the information is given back to you. And I think people who actually engage with it, the guy yesterday now from Ballybunion, he was 1 week into one of the programs and he was like, you know, I had a look beforehand, I jumped into one session, and then he knows he needs to keep going. So we've like rest days, work days, we've it all planned out.
Okay, and how often would you plan on updating that app with different exercises and routines
We're at
and
it all
things?
the time. We're at it all the time. So we're a step ahead the whole time. There's obviously there's a lot of cool stuff we can do. We can tailor a program specific to you. So you will see on your version of the app, you know, Ronan strength program that normally follows on from an assessment we'll have done. We put a program together, and then you'll have a specific program there, and we can get you kind of flowing into another program then from that. Or people who come onto the app, and we have a lot of programs in the program section that are already there and pre-programmed. I'm saying program a lot, but that is there. Like we have Pilates in there, we have speed, we have power, mobility, like it's all there. If someone just feels generally, right, I'm going to get myself more mobile from now to Christmas, like it's so it is so cheap. It's 20 quid a month, and there's a program there that will just keep you mobile for your whole life if you want to do it. You know what I mean? It's just 3 sessions a week. It's lovely. We do it there most weeks ourselves, you know. So, and then the nice thing that we've probably worked really hard on is what's next, because that was one thing when we were researching other apps, particularly in the fitness space. You get a program and it's like, boom, it's done, you know, or it expires, which drove people bananas. So ours don't expire. Once you're a member of the app, it's all there for you. You can carry on as much as you want.
Okay, and obviously people will be coming here off the back of, you know, maybe going through some swing changes with their pro. And I know you like to do a lot of sort of practice drills and practice video things for people. Is that something they can access as well on the app too?
Yeah, we've put a lot of content in there around fields. Like anyone who follows me on Instagram, I'm a big advocate of fields myself. It's how I work a lot with my coach Noel Fox, and it's, you know, fields are funny, but they're really important and valuable for people. A guy yesterday now came up to me, like I mentioned fields, and he said, I'm all about fields. And he actually had a big wedge of wood in his golf bag. And I was like, number one, I was like, you don't need your clubs, but I'm interested in what this is for. So we brought it into the gym, and he was using it for a lot of the, you know, the thoracic movements that we would do in some of the videos. He loves the feel of tilting and turning. So like a lot of our session then was getting him to understand his limitations, why he feels that difficult to get to in with the golf club in his hand. That's the other thing, like it's when there's a ball on the ground, the pattern is not going to be the same as the exaggeration or your desired swing change. So to practice that to the absolute nth degree of the exaggeration pays huge dividends for people. So again, to be able to do certain movements in an exaggeration, you need to be able to move properly to achieve it. So that's where I like to come at, right, tell me what your feels are. Okay, let's do the assessment. Right, that's going to be hard for you to do based on this. And that was exactly the case yesterday. So then he goes back to the guy he's getting lessons from, in Brian in Ballybunion, you know, relates that back. I send a little video to both of them, and it kind of, no, it's not to say that I'm the glue. Brian can come back then and say, look, I sent a video here, here's where he's at, can we do a bit more, maybe thoracic. So it works both ways, but when it does work like that, it's brilliant, you know.
Yeah, and players will surely be excited to bring what you've taught them and what other changes they're going through onto the golf course, but obviously a warm-up is vitally important as well. I know that's something you like to do as well with the videos on the app and online.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we have a few things on the app now, like some of it is activation, and some of it is literally warming, getting your heart rate up. You know, if you've a quick tee box warm up using a golf club or using a band, like we've ticked a lot of the boxes there for people based on how they like to do it. Some people are, you know, the arrive and drive type of people, straight out of the car up onto the tee. Like if you can at least give yourself 5 minutes of dynamic movements that we have on the app using a golf club, or nothing, just your own body weight, you are going to be better prepared, you know. Same thing if we have some members that use the gym, they go in, they have their 20-minute warm-up using resistance bands or body weight, etc. But it just gets them looser to be able to play better. It's as simple as that. And the other thing, you're trying to educate people that are just assist them in saying, look, it's better for you. You know, you might not, or you might get injured, particularly now when it's cold. It's the small little things, you know. Yeah,
there's a longevity aspect to it all as well. And is that something that you'd prioritise more towards the older clients, that bit of longevity in the golf swing and maybe just injury prevention as a whole?
With injury prevention the whole way through, you know, like even the guy I was working with earlier on, little pinch in his hip, he's aware, sits for a living. That's a huge, like the lady today, you know, we got so far in the session, I actually said to her, I said, look, this is all about you, not as a golfer actually. This is about your lifestyle right now, from what you need to do going forward. Because again, she was going, oh, it's starting January. So I'm like, you know, you're on about skiing and this and that, like you're going to get injured. So, or there's a very high chance. So absolutely, like injury prevention, longevity. And again, it's just across the board. I'd love to see everybody resistance training, getting their heart rate up a couple of times a week, whatever age you're at. And it's, you know, it's a hard enough sell, but then when I do a class like I did last night, you know, I get a lift from that then, seeing people, and it was the end of an 8-week block, and I said to them, lads, we can do another 4 weeks into Christmas, they're all in, like, you know. So that's a lovely little community built there within the golf club here, but certainly in an age bracket that should be doing it, you know.
Yeah, this woman is starting to become the star of the podcast
she is.
But like it's cool that you say that she's doing the training, but she's also taking that into other sports as well, which is obviously very important, because a lot of people can become unsure of themselves or intimidated by walking into a gym and they don't know what to do, whereas you provide that structure for them just as a life skill, really, something that they can take into other sports.
Yeah, well look, again, back to her today, I'll never do this in a gym. I want to train, but I don't want to go into a gym. You know, I hear that an awful lot. Like, so I'm saying, Grant, I said, okay, would you log into an online class? No. Right. Would you do something a couple of times a week if I put it into your calendar, or if you knew it was in the app? So she liked that idea, and then she might come up every kind of couple of weeks for a one-to-one, and that's her program then. She's on a program. So that's a big part of the job, is kind of teasing out what suits the person. I have a couple of clients in Dublin. One guy now is on a program in the app, but he really wants to get his speed up. So we'll do speed work in the gym, but keeping an eye that he's working on his mobility as well. He's a big, strong guy, good player, but definitely can move more in his backswing and way more in his true swing. So we'll work on that, you know, trying to get him to see himself on video. We'll obviously check it on the PRGR then when he's doing his speed, and then we can get him relating to what he's feeling versus his output then, you know.
Yeah, so what I'm gathering is mobility seems to be the crucial thing. It's like the foundation for everything. If you can't move, is your speed not going to go up, or you're not going to be able to swing it, make those swing changes? Is that what kind of you're getting at?
Yeah, so look, the ideal combination I find for a golfer is mobility and power. So if you have those two things, or if those two things are incrementally increasing together, well, the potential output in terms of a speed program is absolutely achievable. But it's, I get messages from people, hey Peter, would you let me know there what I need to do to get 10 miles an hour up my clubhead speed? And I'm going, Jesus, like 10 miles an hour, no matter, like, right, where are you right now is the first thing, If you're at 130, you want a 10 more, that's you going into a powerlifting space and a long driver. If you're at 19, you want 10 more, well, that's a different story, you know what I mean? So they're completely two different players, two different programs, but it would depend on things like, again, technique. Is your pro okay with this? Are you okay with this? And what you're willing to do. Like it is pointless getting 10 miles an hour faster and having no control of where the ball is going, you know what I mean? So that's not, I wouldn't like to be involved in that type of program. I would love to see, right, I'm working on this with my technique. I think I can manage the speed and the technique, the pattern, let's say, the two together. Well, that's a different proposition and something that I would be interested in doing,
Yeah.
But it's just, whether they get on to me or whoever else, you just need to be careful on that one.
Yeah.
Like speed with golf is great. Like when it works, it's amazing. You still need to put the club on the ball pretty squarely to get the dividends you're looking for. Otherwise, you're probably better off where you are. Like if you can control it now at a less speed, and then you get faster, you can't control it. That's not great.
Yeah. Would clients then over more the eastern side of the country, would they be more likely to liaise with Keith in the Hermitage? I know you go over to the Hermitage a good bit as well, yeah. So would you have much of an input in what goes on there then?
Yeah. Sure, I'm there every week. Keith is a great, solid, not a bad, like he's a great people's person. So if people want to engage with us in Dublin or that area, I'm up every week. Keith is there every week. Same structure. Come get your assessment. We can take a look then and look at programs. There's one-to-one clients go there. There's classes going on there as well. We're trying to, as best we can, replicate what goes on in Cork and Dublin and vice versa, and just kind of have it as a unified service then over both studios.
Yeah, and then finally, just are you one who practices what they preach? Do you find time to do your own training and your own work?
Yeah, I train. We have a little 6 a.m. club going here, so in Douglas. So we train. It's about 5 of us get together 5 mornings a week, and I do loads of mobility training by default. So if I'm teaching classes or doing online classes with people or online sessions, a lot of that is around mobility. So I'm lucky there, but yeah, I have lots of weekly minutes under my belt, thankfully.
Yeah, I don't know how you find getting up at 6 o'clock every morning on a consistent basis.
It's the best. I love it. It's the best time to train. I get up. Yeah, I'm gone for about 5:15 every morning. Come up, set up the session. The lads come in. We have a nice little group there, and we go from there.
Yeah. Actually, just one thing. Just outside of the actual training itself, you mentioned getting up at 6 o'clock. Do you put any onus on your clients to get the right amount of sleep, eat the right things, nutrition? Is that all up to them, or is that something you'd stress?
Look, I'm not a nutritionist. I'll be upfront and say that. Do we get questions around nutrition? Of course we do. You can give your little pieces of advice and so on. Rest is a big one. Absolutely. I have a couple of clients, and we would check rest, how much recovery they have based on their wearable they wear. I've one corporate guy there, he's with me every week, twice a week, and he's a big one because he travels an awful lot. So we would track his workouts, we would track his rest a lot. He finds it hard to recover and just feel relaxed just about himself because he's just, mind is flying the whole time. So, he finds the exercise parts or the days he's exercising, he's definitely less stressed and gets better rest. So the answer is to train more. But time is against them, so that's what we're trying to improve.
Yeah, so it's a different balance for everybody.
Yeah, and it's hard. Like everyone is busy. It's easy to come on a podcast and go, you should be doing this, this, and this. Like, it's hard. Stuff happens, but it's like if you can get some bit of balance through sleep and exercise and your overall life, that's a good thing to get done.
Yeah, I do a bit of training as well. I've kind of been flat out of the last 12 months, and if you miss 2 or 3 days, I feel so guilty about it.
Yeah, that's it. Well, it's a nice habit to be in. We find that as well. Like now we've kind of 5 lads who train away together, and if one drops out, we would all know and he would know, like, you know, Jesus, you missed a good session today. And again, it comes back to community. Like, we were in Portugal and I threw out in the chat, we're going to do 6 a.m. circuits for those who are interested. I actually thought it would just be us, and it was 10 every morning. You know what I mean? Great buzz, great start to the day. You know, there's a bit of a vibe at breakfast about that, and Jesus, you got up at this time, and yeah, I did, and I never do it, and blah blah blah. You know, and then people just get a taste of training early and go from there. You know.
Yeah. So you're looking forward to the next few years with Golf Strong. I'm sure you have plenty of plans coming up as well.
Yeah, sure. Look, it's good team. You know, we feel we have a strong brand. We try our best. We're trying to be as available as we can and grow it in this country and beyond, hopefully, you know.
Cool. Thanks very much, Peter, for the
Thank you.
chat.
Cheers.
Cheers.